he was being very, people were very protective of him. And of course, my the other sister, Vijaya, she was the one that taking care of him. Okay. And then my older brother and the older sister, the next sister, Sushila, they were married in 1942. Both marriages were conducted in the same time in the same marriage hall in two different pandals. Okay. And by that time, my older brother has graduated from medical school. And so at that time only, the older sister died after giving birth to him. And 1 year later, so Uma was born. So they were both almost the same age, Uma. Now, like I said, when we were growing up, our father used to be out of the house and he'd go to work and come back late because he would go to the club, and then he was very much interested. He was a very scholarly person. He was a good orator also, both in English and Tamil. And he used to write poems also, but then English and Tamil both. And he would spend a lot of time reading books and doing this. So my older brother, he was taking on the responsibility for disciplining us. So he will give us homework and things like that, and he will also see that we don't. We like to play and fly kites. So if you have any kite now, you just tear it and break it and throw it away. So we did not like him very much at that time. The others were not, we didn't have much of a problem or thing. But like I said, the two of us only were more close, myself and my Govindraj.
So how was your mom?
My mom was a very religious person, and she was a vegetarian. She brought us all up as vegetarians, but we started eating it later. But my father used to be a non-vegetarian, but they will cook once in a while, once in a blue. Okay. So she was also very God-fearing, and she used to attend all these discourses, like what Anma is seeing now in the Nityananda. So there was a mutt nearby our house, and there will be a discourse every day in the evening. And she used to go there and she used to take us also. So we used to sit and listen to that. We used to go there mainly for the prasadam they used to give at the end of the discourse. They will give some sundal and things like that. So anyway, she did teach us some, to be religious, and she also taught us this Kandas, this Chanmuga Kavasam, which we all learned by heart, and I've been doing it every day for nearly 70 years now. Okay, that's all because of her. And she was very religious, and she's. I do not know much about her parents because they also died quite early when I was little. I have no knowledge of that. But she had one older brother. There were two of them, she and her brother. Her older brother was a doctor, and she worked for the railways, and he was in Hyderabad. And my mother's mother died when my mother was quite young, about probably 3-4 years or something like that. So my grandfather, mother's father, married her sister, and through her they had 2 children, one boy and a girl. And so my mother had one stepbrother, one stepsister, and one real brother. Okay, they were in Hyderabad, and we used to meet only on occasion. In those days, traveling was not so popular with no transportation, and only rails were trains were so crowded and all those things. So people never traveled beyond their own town or immediate. As a matter of fact, I did not travel beyond Hyderabad until I came to United States.
So how was during the wartime? There was
Okay.
a flood in your
so
house.
in 42, the World War II broke. And by the way, see, we were under British rule at that time when I was growing up. Okay? India, Ceylon, and all those things were all British colonies. When they left, only Ceylon was made into a different country, and India was divided into 2 countries like Pakistan and India. I remember when I was growing up, there used to be a lot of Hindu-Muslim riots and bloody wars, people used to fight. And the Britishers actually, they were using this policy of divide and rule. They would instigate the fight, and then they'd say, you guys are not ready for freedom. Okay? So finally some of the leaders, they fought for freedom, and they started what is called the Quit India movement. So they wanted the Britishers to get out of the, and they were rioting, but there were a lot of people were killed. Even what's happening in some of the Middle Eastern countries, a lot of people were killed also. And but still they put up the fight. And similarly, there were some Muslim leaders who also put up a fight. And finally, they divided the country into 2, India and Pakistan. The World War II broke in 1940-41, like that, when I was in the high school. And the Japanese were part of the Axis. They bombed all the allies, that is Britain, America, and all were allies. The Axis were the Hitler, Germany, and Mussolini in Italy, and Japan. Tojo was the leader. But anyway, I remember that in those days there's a blackout. They were air raid warnings because they anticipated the bombing of the city. So they will. We are not supposed to open the windows and show the light outside. Even in the car, the headlight has to be blackened more than half of it, so that and they have built a number of trenches for people to take shelter in case of bombing. So there is a threat of bombing, so the whole city of Madras was evacuated. Became like a ghost town, and we all went to one of the villages, like my older sister and brother-in-law, they were in Tanjore district, and we went and stayed there. When we came back, after some time, the city was deserted like a ghost town. Okay, and then Yeah, in 42, the war was still on. Japanese have started bombing Burma, Rangoon, and all those things. And they were also coming to India. So we used to have daily precautionary drills, air raid drills. Like when the siren goes off, people on the road has to rush into the shelter and do that or go into the house. Okay. Now when that was going on in 1942, there was flood in Madras. See, there was a big lake which was supplying water supply for the whole town. That was called Red Hills Lake, which was about more than 10-15 miles from our house. There was torrential rain for a whole week, every day. And when the rain, so the banks of the lake, they broke. Okay, and the water started coming flooded. The people who were near that area, they got by surprise when they were sleeping, and the water entered, and a lot of people died also. But we were lucky in the sense we got the message when we were up in the morning. But we heard that flood is coming, but we didn't believe it. How can Madras be flooded? But then we saw the sewage and all, coming up and overflowing. Okay, and then people were running from the neighborhood of the lake. So we knew that's really going to be a flood. So our house was had 2 stories. So we moved all the groceries and kerosene lamp and stove and all those things upstairs. And also even took our clothes and all those things from the cupboard and moved up. The water started coming slowly into the house. Okay? And finally, by the end of the day or so, the water was even above the head level. So we spent 1 full week in the second floor with limited supply and limited supply of kerosene. So we never used to light the lamp, and we have to finish our dinner and go to bed before it gets dark. Okay, so that was, and when that was like that, when the water was up to head level in most of the areas, the siren went off, warning that the Japanese are raiding. We can go anywhere, Either you get yourself drowned or you get yourself bombed, So we were there, and early morning or so we did hear some explosions. But fortunately, because the whole town was underwater, it did not cause any damage. And also, by the time the power went off and the whole city was black, so they could not also see their targets clearly. They really wanted to bomb the harbor, but it went off the target and fell somewhere else and did not do any damage. Okay, so luckily, so that was the only experience of war we had. Okay, and the rescue team used to come in a boat, and for people who don't have food or supplies, they used to give it. And in the water, we saw the cattle floating, dead animals, even snakes in the water. And gradually the water started receding, and after about a week or so it went up. And when that happened, when we went down, we saw dead snakes, dead frogs, dead rat, and all those things. So the cleanup was really a big John. But it's not unlike these houses which are built with wood here. They were built of stone and mortar. And he really built a very strong house. And that stood the test of the flooding. And also, even after that, even today, the house is still there. Okay. And it's not collapsed or anything. So that was the experience in the war. And then, of course,
How old were you at this time?
42, I should have been 14. Okay. Then I finished my high school in 44. Then I went to Loyola College in Nugambakam. See, by that time, my father retired. When he retired, of course, he disposed of the carriage and the horse because there was no need for that. And also, we were growing up. Of course, my sisters, they were going to the school, and they didn't go beyond high school. Okay, my older brother used to go to college by. In those days, we had a tram car like what they have in Boston, and also in San Francisco. He used to go by that, and me and my other brother, we used to go to college by cycle. Okay. And what else? Of course, in the college, we had, we had taken there are two, the languages were compulsory, English and a second language. And then the others were elective, like, you can either go for history or other things like that, or a science group like mathematics, physics and chemistry. If you want to go to medical school or engineering, you got to take one of the science subjects. So I took the three subjects like physics, chemistry and mathematics. And of course English is compulsory, and second language I took Tamil. Although in those days we would have been better off if I had learnt Hindi at that time. I would have learnt Hindi if it was available to us, but the politicians were just playing games. The southern politicians, they were just boycotting the Hindi, so they didn't allow the Hindi to be introduced in the schools. Because they played the language as an issue. Okay, so we were kind of isolated. Anyway, so we always had some. We used to have fun with the Tamil teacher, Tamil professor, Tamil teacher. Okay, and I remember when in the medical college, when in the Loyola College, there was one Srinivas Iyer who was a teacher. In the college, there will be a number of seats, and the children, the professor will be on a sort of a stage. Stage is created by a number of tables. Okay? So this guy, he will wear a waistcoat and thing, and also wear a shoe which was much bigger than his not a closely fitting shoe, but there's a lot of space behind. So me and another fellow, his name was Sadasivam, we used to do certain mischief with this guy. So at the end of the class, people will just go and turning that thing around. They'll be crowding around this thing. At that time, we used to get some sand and put it in his shoes. Okay, and there was another Tamil professor who was also like this. He would wear a kipas and a turban and all those things and come. And he will wear slippers like this, he will leave it near the stage and then get onto the stage. So what we used to do is kick the slipper deep inside so that he cannot get it. So he has to spend half an hour after the class is over to get his slippers.
What was the punishment in school?
But they didn't know who did it, no?
No, but you were saying you had some. You had to
Oh,
put
not
your-
in the college. In college they used to sort of suspend or things like that. But in the school they used to, in school every teacher, this was the norm in those days. The there will be a blackboard, there will be a duster, chalk piece, and also a cane. Okay? So if anybody talks in the class, they will get the punishment. Okay? The kinds of punishment we got was you had to get caning, or you will be asked to stand up on the bench, for the whole hour, just for talking. Okay? So that was the kind of discipline.
He has to stand on the bench.
Huh?
Stand on the bench.
Stand on the bench, yeah. Even though there was a desk and sitting, others will be sitting and people who talk will be standing on the bench. Okay. But not in, as we grew up in higher classes, there was that cane and all were not used, and of course not in the college. Okay. Of course, college, we got to be afraid of the professors because one, they can suspend you, they can also fail you in the exam if you misbehave, because we didn't have any of those computerized exams. Even today, we don't have computerized exams. We have to answer, the answer paper has to be written by hand, and somebody has to evaluate. There's a lot of subjective this thing is involved. So he will remember you if you had done something, and then he'll fail you. So we have to be afraid of that. Even medical college, there was one anatomy professor, Siva Subramaniam. He was a terror. If he sees anybody talking, if he sees anybody misbehaving or somebody smoking, things like that, he's sure to fail the exam. Okay? So that was the discipline. Because those days we were under the British rule, until I graduated from medical school. We're still under the British rule.
So, what years were you in medical school?
I was in medical school from 46. I joined the medical college in 46, and graduated in 51. And throughout that period, 40 to 50, there was a lot of fighting and, rioting to get the British out. Okay? And finally they had to quit. And they used to have a sort of, just like what they have Middle East Summit now, they used to have what used to be called Round Table Conference in London. So they will invite both the Pakistan, the Muslims and the Hindus, leaders, and then they will discuss. And of course they won't come to an agreement because they want, nobody will give up their demands. So they will say, you guys are not ready for freedom.
Right.
So like that it went on. But finally, when the rioting became worse, they had to leave. So in 47, in August, India got independence. August 15th. That is Independence Day for India. It's still being celebrated.
So, describe that day when you were. Describe that day. You were in medical school at the time. How was it?
I was in medical school.
How was it like when they announced?
Well, there's a lot of celebration and all those things, They handed over the power, but then they had a partial thing. They had, they appointed governors for every state. you know. And see, these are the puppets. You know. So they will work for the British. And they used to have a Governor General, which is called the Viceroy. And he was the one that is actually running the country, and he will be reporting to the King or Queen of England. Okay? So in 47, when we got the independence, of course, both countries got independence. And Ceylon became a different country, Sri Lanka. And still there was a Governor General, but this time they appointed an Indian Governor General. The first Viceroy of India, Indian Viceroy, was Rajagopalachari, who was a very veteran statesman. He was very educated and all. So he was the first Viceroy. And when he was there, India at that time had a lot of kingdoms. Kingdoms means like states, like Mysore had a Maharaja of Mysore, Travancore, Kerala had a Maharaja of Travancore, and like that there are a lot of Maharajas and kings. They had their own rules. So he wanted to unify everybody. So he said, all this, he put his foot and sternly said, all the Maharajas and Jamindars will go. Okay? They will all come under democratic rule. So the Maharajas and Jamindars were given an ultimatum and said, if you agree, we will give you what is called a privy purse. Privy purse means some allowance, very liberal allowance for their lifetime. Okay? If you don't do it, anyway we are going to enforce the thing. You won't even get that. So they all. Okay, so that is how we unified. And then in 1952, it became a republic. That's why we have the Republic Day in January of 26th is the Republic Day. Independence Day is August 15th. So when it became a republic. Okay? And then there were free elections. And of course, from the beginning, the ruling party was mainly Congress. Okay? But anyway,
1 second.
the Britishers were ruling, and there was some good and bad. I mean, we resented their ruling, yes, but they had some discipline. Okay? The hospitals and all institutions used to be so clean and spick and span. Now if you go to the public office, is so dirty, not even maintained properly. I could see that in the general hospital. They were all European professors and superintendents at that time. So when the superintendent comes, walks, all the people, the menials and the scavengers and the sweepers, they'll be on their toes. They will keep the place clean. There shouldn't be any speck of this thing and all those things. Now, when the